Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya, for those of you that are new here, and I'm a watercolor and acrylic artist. So today I'm going to be painting for you one of my favorite all-time flowers, and it is the Ranunculus. It has tons of petals, tons of texture, and it is super easy to paint. I'm going to be doing it in watercolor today, so I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so to get started, I've got my Arches watercolor paper. I have a couple different brushes here in the Velvet Touch, the Princeton brand. I'll let you know what size I'm using as I'm going along. I have my Winsor Newton watercolors and my water and my paper towel. All right, so we're gonna be painting one of my favorite flowers today. It's the Ranunculus. I just love how many petals it has, how tight it could be with all the little petals. It creates a texture. It's just a really pretty flower. It comes in all different colors. I'm gonna be painting a pink one for you today. So to get started, we're gonna be taking a little bit of our sap green, and I'm just gonna make a little puddle of it right here on my palette. Just a really, really light, just add a lot of water. You just want it to be a light green. And I'm gonna show you two different views of the flower. I'm gonna show you one where it's like looking right at you and one where the flower is looking up. All right, so to start with the one that's looking right at you, we're just gonna do a green, oh, and by the way, I'm using a size 4. Just a green circle in the middle of your page right here. And you can use any green you want. I might actually add a little bit more yellow to this. I want it to be a little bit more limey green. And then if you feel like you've got too much water on your page here, you want to just pick up some of that water. I just crumbled up a little piece of paper towel, and I'm gonna lift up some of it. I just want that green barely there. Okay, we're gonna let that dry for a second, and I'm gonna do another one right next to it, but it's gonna be more of an oval than a circle. This is gonna be the flower that's looking up. And I'll add a little bit of yellow here too. So it's a little bit more of an oval. All right. Then I'm gonna do 2 stems coming right off the little green circle that I made. And I will actually get a little bit more green on my palette. And I'm just gonna bring a stem coming right down. And then I will bring this stem coming down this way. And then actually, I think I'm gonna make a little bud on this as well. So let's bring a little stem. Let's do it right here. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of greenery. It's gonna be the leaves, but it's gonna be a tight little bud. So I'm just gonna add like 2 little leaves like this, and then maybe just one coming off like that. Maybe another one coming off like that. All right, so that's all you've got so far. So you've got the flower that's looking straight at you, the one that's looking up, and then the little bud. I'm gonna go ahead and dry this, and then we're gonna start doing our pinks right over that. Okay, so it's all pretty dry. The only thing that's still a little damp is the bud there. So I'm gonna pick up, again, my size 4, and I'm just gonna make a little bit of a mixture here with my alizarin crimson and my opera pink. I just wanna get a really light pink going. So I'm gonna add a lot of water, dilute it, okay. And then I'm just gonna start going around. They're just little C curves, but they're tight little C curves. So you wanna start by going around that green. So they're just little C curves that are just kind of overlapping each other. And you can leave some white space in there too. Between all the little C curves, you're gonna wanna leave a little bit of white space. And pick up a little more, and just keep going around your flower. All these tight petals just give so much pretty texture to the flower. Okay. So that's all I did, was I went around the flower with little C curves. And you can start bringing it in. Now that I dried my greenery there, it's not gonna bleed. So you can start bringing in some of those C curves. The reason we are putting it on top is because I wanted to see some of that yellowish green in between the petals. That's why we're placing some of it on top, but not all the way. I'm not gonna close up that flower all the way. I still wanna see a little bit of that green right in the middle, and then a little bit under those petals. All right, we're gonna let that dry, and we're gonna go on to this one. And it's the same thing, but you're gonna be going in an oval motion. And since you're looking at the flower sideways, it's gonna look like there's more petals on this side than there is on the top, because you're just not gonna be seeing them in the perspective. So again, it's the C curve, go around your green, leave some white space. Okay. Now you're gonna be putting a little bit more of those petals down here. It'll just look a little bit fuller more towards the bottom here. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in a little bit of that same pink mixture, and I'm gonna put in a little bud here. A little too much water on my brush. Just I'm dabbing it off on my paper towel. There. Just a little bud. Okay, we'll come in and we'll put a little bit more on there as soon as that dries. All right, so now what I wanna do is I wanna come in with a little bit of a brighter pink. So all I did here was I put my two colors together again, and I'm just gonna dilute them a little bit, but a little bit darker this time, okay? Not as much water on your brush. Dab off some of that water on your paper towel, and you're gonna wanna go around the outside, but you also wanna hit it on the inside just a little bit. So you've got a little bit of a darker pink on the outside. But you also want it to blend a little bit with some of those outside petals. And you can add as many as you want. I'm just gonna be doing just a little extra layer right there, okay? Add a little bit darker pink. I'm just dabbing on some pink here and there. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other one. Little C curves on the outside in a darker pink. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit some of those petals just to let it bleed a little bit. Like that, okay? And I'm gonna go in with just a little bit of darker pink towards the bottom of my bud here and just let that bleed up a little bit. All right, we're gonna let that dry for a second, and we're gonna go on to some greenery. So I'm gonna take my sap green again. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of my yellow, which I believe this was cad yellow already on my palette, and I'm gonna mix it in a little bit just to give it more of a limey color. And actually, I'm gonna move to a bigger brush. Let's move to our size 8. And to do the leaves, it's got like 3 little leaves all in one. It's like 3 little separate leaves that make one big leaf. So I'm gonna start with this one first. Just a generic little leaf. I'm gonna leave a little white space inside. And then I'm gonna do another one right next to it. Again, I'm gonna leave just a little bit of white space, and then it's got another one coming down this way. All right, and then if you want to add it, it's not that smooth. There's like little lines, like little jagged marks on the leaves, so just make them a little bit jaggedy. I'm just going and I'm just dabbing with my point and bringing in towards my leaf. So it's dab and drag it in. There you go. I'm gonna add a little bit of my my Winsor green blue to this, just to give it a little pop. Let that bleed in a little bit. And then I think I'm also going to add in a little bit of my cad yellow, just to add a little yellow in there as well. Okay, we're gonna let that dry. And let's go ahead and make another one on this side. So I took my, let's add it up here. I took my sap green. I'm gonna do that first little leaf, leave a little white space. And you can always come in and close up your white space if you think it's a little bit too much. And then I'm gonna do another leaf. And then another one. So it's like 3 little leaves in one. And then I'm gonna give it all those little jaggedy edges there. I'm just using the point of my brush, dragging it in towards the leaf. Okay, you just wanna rough up that leaf a little bit because it's not really a smooth leaf. And then here again, I'm going to add some of my cad yellow. Lime it up a little bit. And maybe just a drop of my darker green there. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull off some of that darker green over here. I'm just not happy with how vibrant it is. I'm going to tone it down. I'm just picking, with a clean brush, I'm going in, I'm picking up some of that green and I'm dabbing it off on my paper towel. That's all I'm doing. And I'm just taking off some of that. Another way to do this is to take your little paper towel like we did at the beginning and just dab it off also. But that dabs off a little bit more than just using your brush. So it just depends on how much you actually want to take off. All right, I'm going to add a little more yellow to the tips here. And I think I'm going to add a little yellow to the bud. And then it's got a little bit of a center to the flower. It's kind of like a darker green. So now that my flower is pretty dry, I'm just going to go in. I picked up my sap green and I'm just going to put in some like little dots here and there on both of these flowers. All right, if you think it's too dark, pick up some of it with your paintbrush, dab it off on your paper towel. Look how pretty that is. All right, I want to go in and I want to just make my edges even a little darker. I love when paintings pop right off the page. And for me, just adding a lot of contrast just pops it off the page for me. So I'm gonna go in. I'm using mostly alizarin crimson at this time. And I'm going in and just doing some little C curves right around that edge, like that. Okay, wash off your brush. Clean brush, just water, bring it in a little bit. Just hit it there and here and there, bringing it in a little bit. Just still C curves. If you want to bring it in even a little more, you can. So there's another little layer of C curves. And if you think you left too much white space, you can always go in with a with a lighter pink and just take away some of that white space. If you think it's too white, you want it to be a lighter pink. Or you could just dab your petals that are already there and relift some of that paint and just reactivate it and just start closing in some of the white. So you can add more pink to it or use the paint that's already there on your page and just reactivate it with just water. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing to this one. Just taking a little bit of my alizarin crimson, adding it here and there. And I might not add that much to the back just because you don't really see that back level, that back layer too much. It's kind of hiding. And now I'm just going in. I washed off my brush. I'm just going in with some water and I'm just going to hit it here and there so it blends in a little bit. You don't want it to be too stark. Okay, just like that. Look how pretty. All right, it's got a little too much pink up here, so I'm going to lift some of it up. And now I'm going to start closing in some of the white space. Just a little too bright for me. And actually, I'm going to bring it in a little bit too. On top of that green, like we did. Remember how we added a little bit of the pink on the green here? I'm going to bring a little bit of it in here as well. Okay. I'm going to take up some of that pink though. Just dabbing a clean brush on some of my spots, soaking up some of that paint, dabbing it off on my paper towel. That's all it is. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more to my bud right here. Just hit it in a couple little spots. Look how pretty those leaves dried. Beautiful. Just hitting it in the corners with a little bit of yellow. Beautiful. I am going to just deepen that up a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to take some of my green, my sap green, and I'm just going to deepen it up even a little bit more. And you can even touch up some of your stems here too. Now this stem is nice and light. This one is going right up my flower, which I don't like. I'm going to try and lift some of that actually just some clean water. And I'm gonna try and lift as much as I can up without hurting my flower. If you want to save the stems for last, you can, and then that way you could just attach it right to the flower right there. You could do that as well. I'm gonna just bring in a little more of my pink. There, kind of camouflages that a little bit. And actually I'm gonna do the same thing to this one. Even though it's a little bit lighter already, I'm gonna lift up some of that green. And I'm gonna put a little more pink there too. Just to camouflage it a little bit. Look how pretty that is. All right, some of my bud went right over my green leaf right here. So I'm just gonna pick up some of that pink that went over the green. Okay. I'm just gonna lay down a little more green. There. Beautiful. And I think I'm just gonna deepen up my stem a little bit more over here. There we go. Perfect. There you go. And you could just keep playing around. It's a very easy flower to paint. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up. And you can also make a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this one. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Have a great day. Bye.